You know, the NES was one of the first systems I had growing up, and even 30-some years later, I still haven't given this game a try. I can even remember seeing it in rental stores, but I always passed on it. Can you blame me? I mean, look at it. The label doesn't really tell you anything about the game besides it has daggers, wing boots, and something to do with a tree. Well, maybe it's time to give those wing boots a try. Judging by how long Faxanadu sits on the shelf every time we get it in, I'm guessing I'm not the only one that's never played it. I have managed to learn a little bit about it over the years, though. I know that it's an action RPG made by Hudson Soft, similar to Castlevania 2 and Zelda 2, and that it's a sequel to a game called Xanadu that was released in 1985. I also learned that they made an episode of Captain N about it. Do you remember that cartoon? There we go. So from the looks of it, Faxanadu was released in 1989 and got some pretty decent coverage for the time. In issue 6 of Nintendo Power, they actually did a 3-page preview about it. It gave the reader a quick overview of the game, making sure to inform them that Faxanadu was a role-playing game complete with different weapons and armor. It also shows you that there's a leveling system and introduces you to the different characters you'll meet along the way. In the very next issue, Nintendo Power featured Faxanadu and dedicated 8 pages to it. This time it covered the first part of the game by giving a detailed walkthrough while sprinkling hints and famous Nintendo Power art throughout. They even included some bonus maps on the back of the poster, which for some reason this issue doesn't seem to have. Well, I guess it's time to pop it in and see what Faxanadu was all about. The game opens with the main character, who is nameless, walking back to his hometown after a long journey. Upon entering, he finds the town nearly deserted and in disarray. By talking to the remaining villagers, you're told to go see the Elf King, at which point more of the story is given. He informs you that the town's wells have been drying up, and that you are the last hope to save the village. I also learned that the elves and dwarves were living in peace until a meteorite containing something called the Evil One fell, who transformed all the dwarves into monsters and unleashed them on the elves. He gives you 1,500 golds, yeah, that's what it says, and then sends you on your way. The player then spends said golds in the town to buy and equip himself with weapons, armor, magic, and of course, wing boots, and then proceeds to head out on his new journey. I also quickly learned through multiple deaths that it's extremely important to speak to the guru whenever possible to receive a new password, or mantra as it is referred to. The guru is also tied to the level system in the game, as talking to him unlocks a new level if the proper amount of experience is achieved. On a side note, one of the first things I noticed when I started playing is that the graphics for this game kind of seem bland and washed out, even by NES standards. Also, password systems are always a pain, but what's really bad here is if you die before leveling up and talking to the guru, you lose all the XP you gained since you had talked to him last. Anyway, as I was saying, the hero sets out to make his way through the different parts of the world tree, cartridge label, to first restore the water supply and then stop the Evil One.
It should also be mentioned that there is no overworld in Faxanadu, which means the levels are all daisy-chained together, with a town placed between each one to help the player out with supplies and upgrades. The game also allows you to backtrack as much as you want, letting you restock yourself with potions and other items. And believe me, you will find yourself doing this a lot. You see, at certain points in the game, you run into locked doors that require specific keys, and unfortunately you won't know which ones you need until you get to the door. Now, you could stock up on keys, but the game gives you a limited inventory, so buying too many will take up valuable space that could be used for potions or wing boots. There were so many times throughout the game I found myself backtracking through entire levels just to go back to the village to buy the right key. But thinking about it now, this could have been done to make the game seem longer than it really is. Once the hero makes his way to the trunk of the world tree, it is revealed to him that there are 3 springs that need to be revived in order to restore water to the elves, and only when this is achieved will he be granted access to the next area. I found this to be one of the most difficult areas in the game for me, as it had multiple paths, and the springs needed to be unlocked in a certain order. But at least I got to use my wing boots, for the first and only time in the entire game. Once the springs are revived, the player is given a ruby ring which gives them the power to push a rock away from a fountain, allowing them to proceed onward. The next area of the game is covered in mist, which I found to be a really cool effect. It is later revealed in the next town to have been the result of the meteorite falling. We also learned from the villagers that the meteorite, which at one point contained the Evil One, is being held in a tower nearby by the dwarves. After making it through the mist-filled level, the player enters the tower, defeats a boss, and is given a key to move on to the next area of the tree, the branches. It's here the player acquires the battle helmet and battle suit, 2 of the 3 pieces needed to defeat the Evil One, while also learning that the final piece is being held by the King of the Dwarves. The final area of the game has the hero leaving the world tree and facing the dwarves in their home located in a mountain. After a series of mazes, we find our protagonist face to face with a dragon that once it's defeated drops a magical sword called the Dragon Slayer, the final piece needed to defeat the Evil One. Shortly after the battle, we learn that we actually just offed the Dwarf King, who had been transformed into the dragon.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll help restore relations between the elves and the dwarves.
The final level of the game is yet another maze, this time looping back to the beginning unless the right path is chosen. It then finally pits the player against the Evil One, and to be honest with you, it's pretty anticlimactic. The Evil One looks pretty much like all the other bosses in the game, and is also the same size as them, which makes the whole fight seem just like another boss fight versus a final battle. With the Evil One defeated, peace is restored between the elves and the dwarves. And after being thanked by the Elf King, our hero departs on their next adventure.
And that's Faxanadu. It took me over 30 years to play it, but I'm glad I finally did. It can be a little rough in spots, but at its core, it's a pretty solid action RPG. Maybe Faxanadu's lack of shelf appeal kept people from playing it, but if that's the case, it's important to remember to never judge a book by its cover. Well, it's getting pretty late, and I should get going and get some sleep. The store isn't going to open itself in the morning. Thanks for stopping by. Take care, and be excellent to each other.
Oh good, you haven't left yet. That gives me a chance to say thanks for watching the video. And if you enjoy my content and would like to see more, please click the like and subscribe buttons below. And don't forget to click that notification bell too, so you won't miss any of my videos. See you next time!